Hi, hello, welcome back to the Math Club, Matthew, where you'll get content based on math for class 9th and 10th. Before starting the video, let me tell you, if you have not yet watched our previous video, please go and check it on our channel and do watch it. I'll also put an iCard for you to watch it. So in our last video, we got to know about 3 main secrets for our 90% success in maths journey, which was clearly discussed in this video. If you have not checked that video yet, please go to our YouTube channel and check it first. Now, what about the remaining 10%? Yes, the remaining 10% is your teacher's efforts. So, I am here as your mathematics teacher to help you grow with upgradation. To start with, in this video, we'll be discussing about types of numbers and number system. For both class 9th and class 10th, we require to understand the number system. In class 9th, we are having the chapter number system, whereas in class 10th, we are having the chapter real numbers. Both are having the same base on arithmetics, how the existence of number came and what are the properties of these numbers. Now, in this video, we are going to get to know what led to the existence of these numbers initially. Okay, to start with, initially during the ancient times, we never had numbers. Yes or no? Ancient times, during our forefathers used to live, when existence of humans were initial in the beginning stage, we had no numbers. Then what was the need of numbers, say? Yes, you can say counting. Yes, so people wanted to count things. For example, if I am having one pen, I call it as 1. If I am having these many pens, I call it as 1 and 2. If I am having these many pens, I call it as 1, 2 and 3 and so on. But people required a symbols. People required something universal to denote all this counting. So they required something to measure the quantity of certain things which existed in the world already. That is why they discovered numbers. Yes. What kind of numbers were they? They wanted some symbols and names for these numbers. So if they had this much quantity of pens, they used to tell it as, they used to denote it by the symbol this, and they called it as 1. If they had these many pens, they used to denote it by the symbol this, and they called it as 2. Similarly, they went on giving symbols for 3, 4, 5 and etc. up to infinity. So these numbers helped them in counting things, in measuring the quantity of something. These numbers helped them in counting things. So they named it as counting numbers. Counting numbers will help them naturally to count the things which are available naturally. So they later also named it as natural numbers. Natural numbers or the counting numbers are those numbers which help us in counting things and to measure the quantity of certain things which exist naturally. So these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 were called as natural numbers and were denoted by the symbol capital letter N. Natural numbers are those numbers which help us in counting. They start from 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on up to infinity But as they go on, they felt the necessity of numbers was not fulfilled. The necessity of numbers existed with humans during that time was not fulfilled by just 1, 2, 3, 4 etc. So they required something else. They required something else. For example, I'll take an example. I have 5 rupees. I have 5 rupees. My friend also has 5 rupees. My friend also has 5 rupees. I need to buy a chocolate now. I need to buy a chocolate. The chocolate cost 10 rupees. The chocolate cost 10 rupees. So what will I do? I will borrow 5 rupees from my friend. Yes or no? So what my friend does? My friend had 5 rupees. He gave me 5 rupees of his. So what amount of money is left with him? Initially he had 5 rupees. He had 5 rupees with him. He gave away that 5 rupees to me. He gave away that 5 rupees to me. So there were nothing left with him. He had 5 rupees. He gave away all those 5 rupees to me. So there was nothing left with him. There was nothing left with him. What was this nothingness called as? They did not know. They did not have any denotation for this nothingness. So they wanted to represent this nothingness with one particular kind of numbers, and they called that nothingness as the number 0. They called that number as 0, and they symbolized it with this symbol over here. This symbol over here. Now the confusion arose. Natural numbers are those numbers which start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. up to infinity. Then where does the 0 put in? Does it fall in these numbers, the list of these numbers? If you put it in these numbers, it is not helping us in counting. So what can we do? So they made a new set of numbers. Called as the whole numbers. Only for this number 0. So initially we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. in natural numbers. Not only 5, 6, 7, 8 up to infinity, etc. Now they required one more group so that they can add 0 over there. So that they can add 0 in that group. So they made a group of numbers. They made a set of numbers that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 up to infinity, and they called these set of numbers as whole numbers. It is represented by the symbol W. Then why are these numbers called as whole numbers? What can be? One main reason why these numbers are called as whole numbers are they represent the whole quantity of a thing. For example, you are having one chocolate. You are having one more chocolate. You are having 2 chocolates. Okay. So this is one chocolate. This is 2 chocolate. This one whole chocolate is being represented by the number 1. This another one whole chocolate is also being represented by the number 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. If you are having half chocolate, so can I call this as one full chocolate? No. This is half. So this is not representing the whole thing. This half is not representing the whole thing. So those numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 0 only represent the whole things. This 0 here represent the nothingness of a whole. So these numbers were called as whole numbers. Whole numbers are those numbers which starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and continues up to infinity. In other words, you can call whole numbers as the set of natural numbers. If you look at these 1, 2, 3, 4 are natural numbers. Along with that we have a 0. So we can call whole numbers also as a set of natural numbers along with 0. Is called as whole numbers, is called as whole numbers. As the technology advanced, human got advanced in their levels, still they are not satisfied with the system of numbers they were having. The system of numbers they were having. Just now I gave you an example of half chocolate, yes or no? Similarly, let me give you one more example. So till now we had the system of numbers, natural numbers, they are 1, 2, 3 up to infinity. Whole numbers, they are natural numbers along with 0, that is 0, 1, 2, 3 up to infinity. But still, as people advanced in their living, they were not satisfied with them. Let me give you one more example. So in the initial example, I had 5 rupees, my friend has 5 rupees, he gave me 5 rupees so that I can buy a chocolate. So what was the amount left with him? That was 0. Now, I had 5 rupees, the chocolate was 10 rupees, so I required 5 more rupees. I required 5 more rupees. So I borrowed it from my friend. So the amount left with my friend was 0 rupees, but the amount left with me was, it was again 0, but along with 0, I had a loan of 5 rupees from my friend. Yes or no? I had 5 rupees, I borrowed a 5 rupees from my friend and bought a chocolate. Now I have a loan of 5 rupees for my friend. Then what is this loan? What is this loan? Sala is represented by. Does this represented by the same numbers? Can we represent it by the same numbers? No. For that we are having another system of numbers that is called as integers. It is represented by the symbol Z from a Greek word Zahlan. Which is not much required, let it be. Okay. So initially we had 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Now I have a loan of 5 rupees from my friend. Now where does this 5 rupees belong to in this case? So we did not have any system for that. We did not have a system for that loan which we owe to someone. So we found out a new system of numbers. They are called as negative numbers, represented by -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and same up to infinity. It continues till the end. So this loan of 5 rupees is represented by this -5, So the natural numbers are those numbers which start from 1, 2, 3, 4 up to infinity. Whole numbers are the numbers which start from 0, 1, 2, 3 up to infinity. Whereas integers are the whole numbers along with negative numbers. Integers are the whole numbers along with negative numbers. Here we are going to divide these integers into parts. These numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the natural numbers we are having, we call them as positive integers. These negative numbers, we call them as negative integers. Then what is this 0 called as? It is called as whole numbers, we know. There is one more name for that. It is called as a neutral number. Because this is neither positive nor negative. This was the system we found for representing loans we owe to someone. But people, as they advanced, they were still not satisfied with this. They went on discovering so many kinds of numbers. Now let me give you one more example. My friend, who was very kind, brought me a cake, one full 1 kg cake for me for my birthday. Unfortunately, there are only 2 people who could eat this cake. Me and my friend. So what my friend did, my friend divided this 1 kg cake into 2 equal parts. so that I can eat one part and my friend can eat one part. Now this is one whole cake. We told it is represented by one whole cake, that is one whole number. Okay. Now it is divided into two equal parts. I am eating one part, my friend is eating one part. How much did I eat? How much did my friend eat? You will say it is half, but people during that time did not know that. So what they did? They found out the system of one more kind of numbers. Initially we had one full cake. My friend divided it into two equal parts. So it became 1/2 of the cake, which is nothing but half. Then where does this 1/2 belong in this system of numbers? We don't know, yes or no? So for that they introduced one more kind of numbers, that is called as fractions. That is called as fractions. So what is this, sir? We thought you will tell us about rational numbers, because most of the teachers jump from integers to rational numbers when they are explaining. But I think it is very necessary for one to understand the difference between the fractions and the rational numbers as well. So we will discuss that also, then we will move forward. Right. So I said so my friend divided the cake into two parts, so it became 1/2. My friend divided the cake into three parts, so it became 1/3. Now, is this a fraction or a rational number? If you had asked me, I'll say both. You might be knowing the definition of rational numbers initially, which you have learnt in your previous classes. Now, try to define rational numbers on your by your way. We define rational numbers as those numbers which can be expressed in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q is not equals to 0. We define rational numbers as those numbers which can be expressed in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q is not equals to 0. We all know this. But we define fractions as those numbers which are written in the form of p by q, where p and q are whole numbers, where q is not equals to 0. So both numbers are written in the form of p by q. Both numbers are written in the form of p by q. For example, 1/2, 3/3, 4/5, etc. Here p and q should be whole numbers. That means, for example, you can take 1/2, 2/3. Here p and q are integers. P and q are integers. So here you can take the examples of 1/2, 2/3. Both examples are same. Here we can add one more example, that is -3/4 or -5/6. So here p and q are integers, in the sense here both the numbers in the numerator and the denominator can be negative also, whereas in fractions we are not going to get negative numbers. Look at one more difference. Here, those numbers which can be expressed in the form of p by q. Here, those numbers which are written in the form of p by q. Then what is the difference between these? So if I am writing 0.5, it can be written as 5/10. You all know that. Now, is it a fraction? Yes, 5/10 is a fraction, but 0.5 is not a fraction because it is not written in the form of p by q. Whereas this holds true here. In case of rational numbers where 0.5 can be written as 5/10. Now 0.5 can be expressed in the form of 5/10. So here we call 0.5 also as a rational number, but in case of fractions we don't call 0.5 as a fraction because it is not written in the form of p by q. So
Hope you have understood the difference between fractions and rational numbers. Now we got to know that rational numbers are those numbers which can be expressed in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers in the sense 1, 2, 3, 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and q is not equals to 0. Why is this q not equals to 0? Because if any number is written in the form of 1 by 0, 2 by 0, division by 0 is not at all permitted. Division by 0 is not at all permitted. We consider something divided by 0, 1 by 0 or 2 by 0 as undefined because we are not developed yet to find out the value of division by 0. For example, 1 by 2 minus 3 by 5, 0.3, because it can be written as 3 by 10. All these are rational numbers. Then, do there exist even numbers which are not rational? Are there any numbers which does not belong to the rational numbers? Yes, there exists. For example, let me take a number 9. What is the square root of 9? Square root of 9 is 3. We all know. Then let me take the next number 10. What is the square root of 10? We don't know the value of square root of 10. So we consider the square root of 10 as a number which is not rational, and write it as an irrational number. We call that as irrational number. Then what are irrational numbers? Irrational numbers are those numbers which are not rational. Irrational numbers are those numbers which are not rational numbers, Can there be some other definition for irrational numbers also? Yes, we also define irrational numbers as those numbers which cannot be written in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers So we define irrational numbers as those numbers which cannot be written in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q is not equals to 0. For example, we can take square root of any non-perfect square number. Square root of any non-perfect square number is an irrational number. There exists one more kind of numbers. So, combining these rational and irrational numbers, we together make one more set of numbers that is called as real numbers. So, what are real numbers? Real numbers are the combination of both rational and irrational numbers. So, to denote them by symbols, we denote rational numbers by the symbol Q. Since we defined irrational numbers as the numbers which are not rational, we define it by the symbol Q dash. Q dash simply means which are not belonging to Q. Rational numbers are symbolized by the capital letter Q, whereas irrational numbers are symbolized by the letter Q dash. Simply means which does not belong to rational numbers, whereas real numbers, which are the combination of rational and irrational numbers, are denoted by the symbol capital letter R.
In our next video, we'll be discussing about the relationship between all these types of numbers.